Hey guys, this is me, Michael, reviewing Ghostbusters, which happens to be like one of my favorite movies of all time. I originally had the NES version, which I'm sure, as you saw in the Angry Video Game Nerd, and a lot of other people didn't really care for the NES version. Now, if you slapped on a Ghostbusters symbol on most things as when I was a kid, I would have liked it anyway, which I played through the NES version and enjoyed it for some weird reason. And then my dad brought home the Commodore 64 and I played that version. That version really was awesome. And then later on, I found out about a Master System version. In my opinion, even though like there's some translation issues, I feel like this is the best version. The Commodore 64 version actually, in my opinion, has better sound because the Sega Master System soundtrack sounds like nails on a chalkboard. And there was digital speech in the Commodore 64 version. Commodore 64 version is probably the second best, but I think this is the best version. I'm still kind of getting used to it. I haven't played it in quite some time on this version. I don't even know why they give you options for other cars. Like, everybody wants to drive the Ecto-1, so I guess this is a time before they actually knew what the equipment was called, because like most of this stuff like was never in the movie or was ever called in any of this. Now the goal is to raise enough money to go into the Zool building, which is like the Commodore 6. This is like a mashup between the Commodore 64 and the NES version. Now you can see, I don't think this was in the Commodore 64 or NES version where you actually see the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper. Now these driving segments, a lot more lengthier than like any other version I played. The ghosts look different. There's like 3 different kinds of ghosts, and I don't remember being able to control my guy this much in other versions. They put stripes on the track. Like, I always remember the NES version looking like the ghost trap looked like it was like a plate with butter on it. It looked horrible. Now, as far as these dots go, I have no idea what they mean, but in the beginning this game is kind of inconsistent. You gotta wait sometimes for a while just to get any kind of blinking. But anyway, I said this is like a mashup between the Commodore 64 version and the NES version, because in the Commodore 64 version, once you get to the Zool building, which you will not see on this, unfortunately, I haven't played this game in a long time, so it's rusty. But when you get to the Zool version on the Commodore 64 version, once you get past Stay Puft, you automatically go up and beat the game. Like the NES game, this game goes to where you have to climb the stairs, which was in the movie. But the major difference is you actually might have a chance because you actually can shoot like when you go up the stairs, which makes a huge difference. This is pretty lengthy for a driving segment. I don't think they should be this long. And I don't remember those being in the games. They blow up your car like that. But whatever. The graphics are superior than both versions. But like I said, the Commodore 64, in my opinion, has better sound and it has digital speech. Like when you get hit by a ghost in the Commodore 64 version, it goes, "Slime me." And even the NES version, when you push start on the title screen, it said Ghostbusters, just like the Commodore 64. The NES version didn't have a little bouncy ball where you could sing along. But after playing this game, this is the only song that there is, really. Why would you ever want to sing along? That's kind of weird, like even though you don't see your beam go up, it seems like if you like put your beam outside of the ghost, even if it's not technically touching them, it kind of coasts them. So basically, you just want to shoot the beams where it creates a wall and like push them towards the trap. Now this game suffers from flickering and slowdown. See, like on the Commodore 64 version right now, he would have went, "He slimed me." But this version doesn't have that. So anyway, the goal is about trying to raise enough money and buy what you need to get into the Gozer building. Go get past Stay Puft, go up. And like the NES version, after you're up the stairs, you actually have to battle Gozer. It doesn't happen automatically. But you actually have a chance because, like I said, you can shoot when you're up the stairs. I do find this game pretty fun. I do think the new Ghostbusters 2 version, like the one made by HAL Laboratories, is a better Ghostbusters game. It never came out on the Master System. It came out on the NES, but not here, which is a shame. We got a shitty version of Ghostbusters 2. But I think that version's fun, but even though this game is really repetitive, I don't think busting ghosts and trying to trap them and stuff really gets too old. I was kind of hoping when they made the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions, not the last one that came out, like I've expressed so many times about the overhead one, but the one where the first one actually had like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and Ernie Hudson actually doing the voices. I thought it would be cool to drive the Ecto one and basically have this aspect in between levels. And it would have made the game last longer, because I felt like, I don't know, which is retarded because it was in development forever. Like, it was like so short, and the last few levels felt unfinished. It felt like the first 3 levels were really polished. They would actually use the time wisely. Like, I think it would have been cool if they would have added like these kind of like little sections in between to make money and stuff like that. If they ever make a sequel, I hope that they add this aspect to it, like the business aspect, going around doing odd jobs, being able to drive around New York, like, which they had a lot of time. They could have easily done that. I mean, that game was postponed so many times, like, and it didn't really show. And I hate because I like it. It might just be because I'm a Ghostbusters fan, but I did feel like towards the end of the game, which didn't take long to get to, it just felt rushed, and that was weird because it was in development longer than most games. Like, a lot of games are actually better. It just made it fun because of the people that were involved. So apparently they're making a 3rd movie for sure, and I don't know if Bill Murray's gonna be in it or not, but that's always like a wives' tale when they talk about Ghostbusters 3. But I'm hoping that they make a decent game instead of like a stupid cash-in. Like, even if they use a different cast or whatever, like, and just made a decent game that involved the same elements, I wouldn't mind. Like, maybe one where you start your own franchise. I mean, there's so many writers from the old cartoon series, I'm sure that they could come up with some decent story. And they just came out with a new comic book series too, which is actually fairly decent. It has kind of the art style of the Wii version of Ghostbusters, which, strangely enough, I think I might like more than the actual PS3 and 360 versions, even though it's more cartoony. But yeah, I could get people from that, like, make something. I mean, I would like to see the original Ghostbusters in it, or like have them in the background old or whatever. They kind of tried to do that with the overhead one, but you rarely ever saw the original Ghostbusters, and I don't know, the writing was horrible on that. But I wouldn't actually mind seeing like a real Ghostbusters game. But yeah, I would definitely, if they ever made one, I would definitely like to see more of the driving aspects, like side missions like this, just to make more money to keep afloat. There's a PC DOS version of Ghostbusters 2 that kind of kept some of those elements. That game was far from perfect, but they had like little ghost busting segments where you had to make money and stuff like that. They had some stupid levels where you had to like break in the park to save each Ghostbusters and they go to a mental hospital. But like they had ghost busting segments. You didn't get to drive the Ecto 1A on it, which I feel like that should be part of the experience. Just like I was disappointed with the Back to the Future games where like I liked them, the point and click ones, but I was like, I wanted to drive the DeLorean, man. Just like I want to drive the Ecto 1. It's like as awesome as the Dark Knight, not the Dark Knight, like Arkham Asylum is, and I heard Arkham City's pretty sweet too. I'd like to drive the Batmobile, like, better yet, even like the Batwing or the Batjet or whatever. There's basically any vehicle that has a bat in front of it, but it doesn't look like it is. But it still looks like an awesome game. I look forward to playing it. As you see, I'm starting to get the hang of this ghost busting business. Like the control on here, beside this part, the control's pretty atrocious on this part of the game. When you're trying to get in between buildings, like I tend to feel like you have to hold the direction of wherever you want to go to before you actually get to it. Otherwise, like unless you're perfectly aligned, you can't get there. Obviously, I didn't make enough money because Stay Puft is destroying just about everything. You'll see some people play these games. You don't see too much in the Master System version. Usually it's the Commodore 64 version on YouTube. But, yeah, they breeze right through it. Probably doing, like, making the worst mistakes possible. Also didn't help that I bought a crap load of stuff. Like maybe if I didn't buy all that stuff, I would have had enough money to be able to go in the Gozer building. But I don't even know what half of the stuff does, to be honest with you. Two in a box, ready to go, maybe fast and maybe slow. Even though there was like 5 or 6 of them. They saw so fast I couldn't count. I think in the Commodore 64 version here I died, so this will conclude the video. See, translation issues. Gorza. Sounds like something that a bunch of little things turn into a gigantic robot or something. But anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like it, and thanks if you already subscribed. Alright guys, take care.